The Rocket City is making headlines because the Space Force is moving to Rocket City. But did you know that it used to go by a different name? Yeah, Huntsville, Alabama, Madison County used to have a huge prairie that expanded most of Madison County. This was known as the Big Prairie, and it's the reason Huntsville, Alabama exists. You see, in the early 1800s, the people of South Carolina were looking for a new cotton capital because they depleted the soils in South Carolina. So people started moving west and they found the Big Prairie of North Alabama. And this was an ideal location because the soils were super rich because it was a grassland. There was bison, there was prairie chickens. This was a full-blown prairie. But what made it super ideal is there were very few trees to clear. Early descriptions of the Tennessee Valley said that there were very few trees. It was sparsely treed. The trees that did exist were low and gnarled due to the annual fires lit by the Native Americans to consume the tall grasses. See, the Native Americans were managing this prairie because they knew that this prairie meant life. It meant that it attracted bison, it attracted prairie chicken, quail in extreme, unfathomable numbers. Heck, in the 1960s, Wheeler Wildlife Refuge was harvesting 1,500 quail a day. That was before the refuge turned to mostly forest and mostly cropland. So does the Big Prairie still exist today? Well, not in its original size, but there are some small remnants here and there around Madison County, and there's a lot more remnants in surrounding counties. The good thing is most of the land where the Big Prairie was, which is right by the airport, is still there. A lot of it is being developed into neighborhoods and huge industrial complexes, but most of that is cotton field and agriculture and could easily be turned back into the Big Prairie. So what's your opinion? Huntsville, Alabama is where we're going to have the Space Force that protects space, but I think Huntsville, Alabama should also protect the earth, where we live, and what used to be there. There was also an article from a slave owner who was looking for a slave. His slave's name was Ruffy Woodson, and he escaped into the Big Prairie because he knew that's where he could go and be safe. I don't think it's too far-fetched to say that we can bring back this Big Prairie, and we could have bison and prairie chickens again here in North Alabama one day. Even if it's just a couple hundred acres, couple thousand acres, and we can name it the Ruffy Woodson Prairie after the slave that escaped into the Big Prairie. But that can only happen with calculated growth that doesn't consume what makes Huntsville, Huntsville. And if you want to read more about this, there's a recent study done by Southeastern Grassland Institute and Robert Langelier to find the Big Prairie of Huntsville, and the research is pretty incredible.